August. My name is Anisha Patel, and if there are people walking around, I'm very sorry. Um, Hopefully, if my YouTube account works, this video will be published there, but if not, it'll be under my boyfriend's name, just to let you know. Today, I will be talking about how there is a big controversy of being grouped into the umbrella term of Asian Americans, and not being referred to a person, not being using the reference of someone's specific ethnicity. I also wanted to talk about how the generalization of the term has led to negative impacts, which has made its way across history, and how in the present day people are also on their way to reject this term. I also wanted to connect how Americans back then have always mislabeled people who come from Asian countries, and in present times, people from Asian descent are still put into this narrow box. Starting off from the article that we read in the first week of class, The Inadequacy of the Term Asian Americans, written by Li Shu, he explains how the term of Asian American doesn't really serve the intention that it was once created for. Created in 1968 by Emma G. and Yuji Ichioka, two Berkeley students, they were trying to find their way and trying to find a name that would suit their student organization. Obviously, there was the initial benefits that came with this term. It was a way to have a path of allowing unity within this huge group of people that wanted to rally together to make it clear that there was an increase of Asian descent who wanted a better life in America. But as we could see from 1968 till now, that line of benefits didn't really last long, and it didn't really stay in its fruition stage. People started rejecting this term and started not really appreciating what it once came with. Because how those benefits didn't last long, we saw how too generalized and too broad this term became. Asian Americans refers to the largest region in the world. But when the majority of people think of this term, they basically only think of the main countries like China and Japan and possibly even Korea. They tend to be oblivious and they tend to be forgetful of a lot of the smaller countries that a lot of people don't assume to be Asian because they don't necessarily look what Asians look like. They don't look like the stereotypical Asian people, like Chinese people or Japanese people. We forget that Nepalians, Mongolians, and Armenians can be identified as Asian Americans. So because of specific times in history where no matter where you're from in Asia and no matter who you were not someone of importance because of your heritage. And in these times, instead of being called Asian Americans, a lot of people were called Orientals, a term created by Edward Said in the book Orientalism. This is a reference to the Orient, or the region in the East. And unlike the broad term of Asian American, this term was basically created with a more negative connotation. People have always been put into one category, not being recognized for who they are and who they represent. So we could see how even in Asian American and how Orientals, one was already created with a more negative idea, while Asian Americans try to push people towards a path of unity and trying to broaden people's horizons, but that still didn't turn out the way they thought. The biggest thing that relates to this topic today that I've noticed, that I've mentioned before about being put into a box, is that many people of Asian ethnicities have to deal with forms and surveys and questionnaires. What it basically says is please check off what race you are, not ethnicity, because being American is not viable. Sometimes there's only one option you can pick, but in my case, I have two that I would need to look for because I'm Indian and Filipino. But what would be my options? Basically, the options that they give us are white, black, or African American, American Indian or Native Indian, Asian Pacific Islander, prefer not to say, and other. What falls into other? Because technically they wrote out all the options that you could come from. And though I'm not diving into the topic today, white, black, Asian are all umbrella terms for the European, African, and Asian countries. So I just wanted to briefly talk about and summarize how the term Asian Americans has not really benefited anyone in today's society anymore. It is an easy way to just sweep a lot of places under the rug and not really give them any attention or mindset for them. So I just wanted to talk about those negative impacts. Thank you.